I love to sit with some of my old friends and catch up about the past, some of the stories which we have lived together. And there's a good friend of mine. I oftentimes spend some time over the coffee, and, you know, I've been thinking about what we often talk about, and this is something very interesting. I was looking back and thinking about it, and I found out that there's one area or one story which pops up, comes back again and again. And this is something about what he is going through. And I don't want to go into all the detail, but this is something which he has tried to, overcome, try to put behind it, but it almost seems like he's not able to go beyond that. Somehow, this past what things have happened in his life always, year after year catches up in some way or the other. It pops up in his relationship, in his work, or even the way he can think about the future. Does it sound familiar to you? There are things which has happened in our past, or maybe the things which we have done in our past. It keeps coming up again and again. Although we want to get rid of that and go beyond and enjoy what God has for us, but oftentimes we are pulled back. I was reading from Ephesians chapter 4, verses 22 to 24. Very powerful scripture. Paul writes this way, he says, put off your old self and put on a new self. Think about it. He's saying, there's a moment, there's a time when we need to put off all those things that belong to our old self. If we want to walk in that, he's saying that, walk into that place where what God has created us for, the purpose that he has called us for, if we want to move into that, we need to put off and put on. Giving up on the old self and moving towards the new one. Oftentimes people try to put the new one on the old one. Have you tried that? Having the old clothes you're wearing and try to put a new shirt on that, it doesn't look good. It doesn't really work that way. It doesn't work in our lives too. I want to encourage you today. There will be moments where you think that I want to, have something that I want to walk into where God is calling me, leading into something new, beautiful, but at the same time, something that is holding us back. That is the old self, the way of thinking. The scripture says in Ephesians, a new attitude, a new self which belongs to what God has for us in his righteousness, in that faithfulness, in that holiness, in that newness, in that new creation. If we want to step in, we need to give up, or we have to walk out of that old self that is holding us. Oftentimes people carry that old into that new place. I want to encourage you today, walk with God in that newness that he is calling us. He has created us for that, the righteousness of God, the faithfulness of God, the holiness of God. It is possible. God is inviting us. May you walk in that newness of the new creation that God has birthed us, giving up on that old self.